Is it worth it to try and become a restaurant manager in 2022? The purpose of this video is to help you figure out whether this particular occupation is for you. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the quit rate in the food service industry is going bonkers. People are leaving the food service industry by leaps and bounds for a variety of reasons that we're going to get into later in this video. Restaurant managers are definitely not immune to this, but first, what is a restaurant manager? Restaurant managers are responsible for the daily operation of restaurants or other establishments that prepare and serve food and beverages. They are directly involved in whether a customer is satisfied with their particular dining experience. But also at the same time, they manage the business to ensure that their particular restaurant is profitable. Restaurant managers are tasked with a lot of things. They have to keep records required by government agencies regarding the sanitation of food. They hire, train, oversee, and sometimes they even have to fire employees. They oversee food preparation, portion size. At the same time, they actually have to schedule staff hours, they have to manage budgets, payroll records, and establish standards for personnel performance and customer service. Ultimately, restaurant managers are responsible for all functions of the business related to employees and the business itself. They also have to arrange for cleaning and maintenance services for the equipment and the facility. One of the first advantages to choosing to become a restaurant manager is the low barrier to entry. You don't need a college education or anything beyond a college education to get into this particular occupation. In fact, according to the Occupational Information Network, 15% of employed restaurant managers haven't finished high school, 55% have a high school diploma and nothing more, 17% have some kind of college, and 12% have probably a bachelor's degree or associate's degree. I'm definitely not recommending anyone drop out of high school and just relentlessly pursue this particular occupation. Definitely finish high school before going into any particular trade. But definitely before choosing any particular occupation, you need to do your research. We actually have the perfect program for people that are undecided on what kind of career they want to go into. We have something called the Choose the Right Career program. We take a look at your interests, personality, how much money you want to make, where you want to live, and more to help you choose the right career for you. You can waste a lot of time and money going down the wrong path. Choose the Right Career solves this. If you're interested, check out the link below. So we went over one advantage to becoming a restaurant manager, and that is the low barrier to entry. Now we're going to tell you about a disadvantage of going into this particular occupation, and that is the high injury and illness rate year to year. Restaurant managers have twice the injury and illness rate when compared to the average occupation. For the average occupation, there's 120 injuries and illnesses per 10,000 people. Restaurant managers have almost double that with 215 injuries and illnesses per 10,000 people. For restaurant managers, the most likely event would be getting ill. Restaurant managers get sick all the time. Number 2 would actually be falling, maybe from a wet floor. And number 3 would be contact with some kind of object, something falling on you, maybe your arm getting compressed. There's definitely quite a few things that could happen. So for restaurant managers, the injury and illness rate can be pretty high. I'm actually not sure if those numbers also include COVID illness, because you would think in 2020 the numbers would be way higher than that, especially with COVID. But as you can see, like restaurant managers, you're surrounded by people all the time. There's definitely a chance of getting sick, but it's not a dangerous occupation. There's actually a very, very low chance of restaurant managers dying, although it does happen. In 2020, there was 12 deaths and 8 of them were due to violence by a person or some kind of animal. So when you factor in how many restaurant managers there are out there, this is pretty actually insignificant. Next up, we have wages. And for many restaurant managers, maybe they were once a waiter where they were getting paid in tips. And the second they become a restaurant manager, suddenly they're getting some kind of benefits. They might even be getting health insurance and more. In 2016, the average base salary for a restaurant manager was $56,010. By 2020, this hit $61,000, but just as a base salary. So definitely not bad compensation for an occupation that doesn't require a college degree. The other thing to keep in mind is about 35% of restaurant managers are self-employed. They own their own business. This could either be as a 1099 contractor, but it's also most likely they're owning their own restaurants. And the government doesn't track the incomes of business owners. But when you're looking at the income of business owners, things get a lot more hazy. It's much harder to actually track. And because this particular number is averaged across all different kinds of restaurant managers, It's really, I mean, if you're going to be a general manager, I mean, income is a lot higher. It's definitely into the six figures as you climb the ranks of a particular, maybe restaurant company. But there is one particular con you should know before becoming a restaurant manager, and that is the unpaid overtime a lot of restaurant managers end up undertaking. If you're a nurse, if you're an electrician, if you're a plumber, every hour above 40 hours a week, by law, the company actually has to give you time and a half. For teachers, for restaurant managers, and for actually a lot of other managers, this isn't the case. So a lot of restaurant managers might work 50, 60 hours a week and not get compensated for it. They might get a bonus at the end of the year, but the company isn't legally required to pay them time and a half, which I would say is a con. Next, we're going to go into the demand for restaurant managers. And I was really curious about this because the quit rate for people in the food service industry is so high right now. So I was so interested to look at the number of job postings on all the different job boards. So I went on glassdoor.com and found 36,236 job postings for restaurant managers in the United States. On Indeed, I found 274,968 job postings. And on LinkedIn, I found 143,918 job postings. So in 2020, the government recorded a little under 200,000 restaurant managers all across the country. So when you compare this against the number of job postings for restaurant managers, there looks like there's so much demand for restaurant managers right now. And in a second, we're actually going to look at some job postings, and you can actually see that the requirements to become a restaurant manager really aren't that bad. It really seems like companies are getting a little bit more desperate to hire people for this particular occupation. And part of this might be the quit rate. This is the number of employed restaurant managers over time. In 2016, there was around 201,000 employed restaurant managers. It peaked in 2019, right before the pandemic, at 235,000 employed. 2020, due to the pandemic, almost 40,000 jobs were lost. The number of employed restaurant managers plummeted to about 197,000 employed. So due to all the quitting, you can actually really see with the job postings that demand for restaurant managers is so high right now. Okay guys, I'm gonna show you my favorite job platform for looking at particular jobs. It's actually just the Google search platform. Just type in occupation jobs and the location you want to look into, press the enter key, and you don't actually have to go on LinkedIn or Indeed. This is actually a great job platform that actually brings in jobs from all these different sources. And there's a lot of niche, particular websites that you can pull jobs in from. So I wanted to show you like that you really don't need too many requirements to get into this occupation. For example, this is the first job. This is a restaurant manager in Woodbury, Minnesota. No degree is actually mentioned in this job posting. Really, they're just looking for 1 to 2 years previous restaurant supervisor and management experience, but no mention of any kind of degree. And there's some added benefits like free meals when you work and flexible schedules. Here's the second job posting 17 hours ago. Again, no degree mentioned. Doesn't even talk about you have to have certain years of experience. No mention of that. So another role that doesn't require too much education. We'll just do one more. Red Robin entry-level restaurant manager. Must be 21 years old or greater. Pay is determined by relevant experience. And again, no mention of any kind of degree. And this particular job posting offers health insurance, dental insurance, and paid time off, and even a 401k. So I definitely encourage people to look at job postings before they pursue any kind of occupation. But just to dream a little bit, there is one of my favorite websites out there to look at possibly owning or purchasing a restaurant is bizbuysell.com. Once you've saved a bunch of capital, potentially as a restaurant manager, you can either start your own business or you could just purchase someone else's business. Okay, I'm on bizbuysell.com, and this is a great platform for finding a business to sell, whether maybe it's a baby boomer selling their company that they've owned for decades, but there's so many cool businesses you could potentially purchase once you've saved some money and maybe you've gotten years as a restaurant experience, maybe you got an experience, and maybe you're gonna go for like a bank loan or something. But there's so many different businesses for sale on here, especially as baby boomers continue to retire. So we have pizza restaurants, I'm gonna go back, delis, another pizzeria, bar bowling alley, great harvest bread company. So I think this might be a franchise. So you could even purchase a potential franchise. Irish Pub, Eggs Up Grill. There's so many different businesses for sale, and some are even pretty affordable. This is about $100,000. So income potential gets a lot higher once you consider maybe purchasing a restaurant or purchasing a business in your future. So I definitely get some requests for Myers-Briggs types in different occupations. For restaurant managers, these are the 4 most likely Myers-Briggs types to become a restaurant manager. Number 1 is the ENTJ, the commander. Number 2, the ESTJ, the director. 3, ENTP, the debater. And 4, most likely type is the ISTP, the virtuoso. All 4 of these types have a preference for thinking over feeling, but all the other letters are pretty mixed. So I hope this particular video helped you figure out whether this particular occupation is for you. If you enjoyed this content, I have a lot of other content on a lot of other careers and occupations with a mission to help people choose the right career and not go down the wrong path. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.